everyone. Welcome to an introduction to herbal medicine. So just a little background about me. My name is Lauren Milazzo. I have in total 6 years of education learning Chinese medicine. I went and did an extra 2 years just to learn all the intricacies there of herbal medicine because there's a lot there to learn and to appreciate. So I'm going to share with you a few of the very basic things, keys to understanding like kind of what's going through your herbalist's head as they're deciding how to balance their patient's conditions. So a few things, yes, I'm fluent in acupuncture, herbal medicine, cupping, gua sha, moxibustion, everything that goes along with Chinese medicine. And all right, let's dive in. So just a little bit of history for context. So China has one of the oldest medical systems in the world. Herbal medicine dates back more than 2,000 years. So that's a lot of trial and error and getting rid of things that haven't worked and keeping things that have worked. So traditional Chinese medicine is also different from Western medicine in the way that it describes things. So it's a little more philosophical in nature, and I'll describe later on kind of like more in depth what that means and how it looks. Let's talk about the Huangdi Neijing first, because there are some integral texts to Chinese medicine, and these are texts that students of the medicine study in their schooling of the medicine. So the Huangdi Neijing is one of the oldest texts pertaining to herbal medicine. The Yellow Emperor's Inner Classic, and it dates back to around 2600 BC. And it was said to be written by the Yellow Emperor, although he may have been a mythical figure, but it really is a compilation of many different writings from several authors. But whatever its origin, the book has proved very influential as a reference work for practitioners of Chinese medicine well into the modern era. And then a more recent text that's based on the Huangdi Neijing, but is a more comprehensive compilation of all the herbs, is the Materia Medica, and this is the main pharmacological reference book used by TCM practitioners, amongst many others, but these are just a couple of the basics. And this book contains hundreds of medical substances, all natural, primarily plants, but also some minerals, animal products, and they're all classified by their actions in the human body, which I will explain and talk about a little later. So in terms of the plants, there's so many, and there's different parts of the plants that are used as well. So we have leaves, roots, stems, flowers, and seeds. And they, like different parts of the plants will have different affinities for different parts of the body, different types of effects, so lots of different things. And then a few of the basic concepts, just to more give background information here. There's a vital energy or life force called qi that is said to circulate throughout the body on a system of pathways that are channels or meridians. And so health is considered just an ongoing process of maintaining balance and harmony in the circulation of this qi. And herbal medicine helps to unencumber the body in ways and support the system in this proper flowing of energy. So there's also the theory of yin and yang, which is the concept of two opposing yet complementary forces that shape the world and all of life. So this is pretty central to a lot of the teachings and beliefs of Chinese medicine. Just to give some examples of how you can kind of conceptualize yin and yang in the world around you is opposites, but they're complementary, like they go together, such as sun and moon, light and dark, male, female, water, fire, excess and deficiency, interior, exterior, open and close, movement and stillness. So movement is of a more yang nature, and stillness is a more yin, calm, rest, just to give some basic background information. So, all right, let's move along here. Diagnosing disease in Chinese medicine. So, this is how you can kind of start to understand a little bit about what your herbalist may be talking about when they kind of try to explain to you why they're choosing certain herbs to treat your condition. So, we have cold, heat, interior, exterior, excess, deficiency. These are some of the things I was just talking about. And all of these are manifestations of yin and yang. So like I said, it all starts with yin and yang. The whole idea of Chinese medicine is to balance these two energies within the body. So when these two energies are out of balance, that's when disease, disharmony begins to occur in very subtle ways. But herbal medicine works to rectify these imbalances before they really become big problems that then Western medicine is needed to go in and really do some serious cleanup and rehab there. And then herbal medicine is again needed to rebalance the system, oftentimes after Western medicine goes in and just like very strongly takes care of this problem that has now developed. So, cold, heat, interior, exterior, excess, deficiency. Just a little background on kind of how to conceptualize these. So in the Chinese medicine framework, all disease is caused by, like I said, the imbalance of yin and yang. And this imbalance can be caused by an exterior pathogenic factor, such as virus, or things like wind, cold, heat, dampness, dryness, so things that are in our external environment. And this is kind of too where I was talking about, like, this is a philosophical description of disease. So oftentimes you'll hear practitioners of Chinese medicine talking about like a wind heat invasion or a cold damp pain or things like that, or dampness in the digestive tract. And these are all ways to describe how just the disease process in the body. So it's the thought that all of these natural elements that are in our environment outside of us are also taking place inside of our human bodies, because we are part of nature. So these things affect us. So if you notice, sometimes someone may have a propensity to more pain in their joints when the weather is damp outside. So this is the dampness outside sort of negatively resonating within the human body and causing the dampness in the body as well. So there's that correlation there, just for one example. So other ways that disease can develop are from internal generators of disease, and these can become due to imbalance of like improper diet. Emotions can cause internal disharmony, and just lifestyle in general, overwork, exhaustion, stress. So these can all cause imbalance within the organs. Just think about how IBS, for example, stress causing the inability to properly digest, process, absorb nutrients into the body, or muscle tension, things like that. So in this case, the goal of herbal medicine is just to help the body heal itself by either eliminating pathogenic factors from the outside or balancing internal disharmony. And oftentimes it's really both. And that's why we use formulas of herbs. We don't use just one herb. And I'll talk more about that later, why it's really important to have a balanced formula that's, for the most part, customized to each individual patient. So main points here is that It's important for your practitioner to diagnose you accurately because this guides them to the correct herbs to use, and then that will properly balance the condition. So just to give an example, like it's important to really identify what's going on in an individual because it really directs the practitioner towards the correct herbs to use. So hot conditions, generally speaking, need colder herbs. These are just very basic examples, but it really helps you understand the basics here. So too much dampness, for example, in the digestive system can lead to difficulty digesting food, and this can result in nausea. So in this case, you would use like more drying, aromatic herbs, which I will talk more about the different properties of herbs later. And that would be used to rectify the imbalance. So it's the use there of opposites, going back to yin and yang, balancing the disharmony by assessing where there's a deficiency and a deficiency in what, and then either clearing or supplementing based on your findings. Alrighty, so let's move on to herbal medicine. So just a little bit about herbs. So they include many different parts of the plants. They can be leaves, roots, stems, flowers, seeds, and these are all combined into formulas, and they are administered in various forms, which I'll talk about more in depth later. They can be administered as teas, capsule form, tincture form, or powder form, and in decoctions such as teas. So all these have pros and cons, and so I'll talk about that later. And then just general things that are considered when your practitioner is creating a formula for you. So we want to take into account compatibility and incompatibility of each herb, the specific dose of each herb, because dosage has a big effect. Like 24 grams of chai hu will have more of an effect on the head, whereas 9 grams of chai hu will just be more regulating to the qi and things like that. And then also it depends on which herbs chai hu is combined with. So that's why it's important to have a trained professional administering your herbal medicine. So any restrictions, prohibitions, counterindications, counterinteractions, medication lists obviously always need to be taken into account. And there are a few interactions, but for the most part, herbs are safe to use. And obviously taking into account the individual makeup of each patient. That's like the primary strength of herbal medicine, is that it takes into account your constitution, your situation, what you need. So yeah, every formula is usually highly customized and developed specifically to the needs of each individual patient. And that is a unique strength of herbal medicine. So there are like very many basic patterns that we see, and then those patterns have base formulas to help rectify them. And base formulas, they can be, herbs in those formulas can be added or subtracted, again, tailored to the individual. So just for an example, headache. Lots of people suffer from headaches, but they're not always caused by the same imbalance. We see patterns for sure, but one person with a headache isn't going to have the same kind of headache as another person with a headache, taking into account excess and deficiency. High blood pressure causing headache may be too much excess in the head. We want to help clear and anchor that, but a deficiency headache, not enough blood getting to the head, I mean, if you gave the wrong herbs to that person, their headache would get worse, and vice versa. So really important to accurately assess the situation using the parameters that I spoke about earlier and prescribe the proper herbs. And then we'll talk more about temperature and taste, and that's in relation to the herbs themselves. So herbs have personalities, and that's how we learn them as herbalists. They are living organisms, and they act in the body. They have certain actions, and that's what we want. We want them to do the opposite, usually, of what the body is or isn't doing in order to rectify proper balance and bring the body back more to homeostasis, feeling good. So some of the two main things about herbs are temperature and taste. Very, very basic and pretty easy to understand. So let's dive into that. Okay, temperature. So each herb has a temperature. Let's see. So it's really like a continuum. It goes from cold to hot, and then there's warm, cool, and there's even neutral herbs. So this is just how we classify herbs, basically. So taste and temperature, each of these properties of the herbs is like how the practitioner knows what herb is most appropriate for the patient. So general rule of thumb, like the more hot an herb is, it means it's more like yang in nature. It's generally more stimulating to the body. It's like more turning the body on, getting it to work, like waking it up, invigorating organ function, helping the body to fight external pathogenic factors. And then the more cold, cool an herb's nature, it's more likened to yin, which is more like relaxing, calming, cooling. They generally have a more like inhibitory type of effect. And they encourage more like of a resting, relaxing type of effect. So temperature is pretty basic in that regard. And then, let's see. All right, taste. So tastes are very interesting. Taste you can think of as function in Chinese medicine. So there's 5 different tastes that each herb is attributed to. And some herbs are a little combination of tastes, but for the most part, and to keep things basic, we're just going to talk about each taste individually and what it does. What are its actions in the body? So each taste does something to the body. So let's start with acrid and / pungent. So you can think of acrid as like dispersing. So these are more like aromatic types of herbs. They'll have a very strong smell. Well, a few of these will have very strong smells. But acrid is strong in the sense that it's very like opening to the orifices. Kind of wakes you up a little bit. And its primary action in the body is to really help disperse and move blood circulation. Help, you can think of like if food is kind of just like sitting in the stomach, you know, like you just ate like a really heavy meal. Like you're gonna want some acrid herbs in there to just like, and like help that kind of disperse and be able to process a little easier, break it apart. So helpful for moving the energy, moving the blood. A few examples of acrid, you can think of orange. So Chenpi is orange aged tangerine peel. And it's very, very good for the digestion. Another example of acrid is guicher, cinnamon twig. So cinnamon is very good for blood flow, blood circulation, really getting the heart to propel that blood just a little bit stronger so that It warms the body up and really makes sure that we have adequate, good, healthy blood flow and circulation. So that's how you can think of acrid. Next, we have sweet. So sweet herbs, you can think of more in the realm of food. So they're more for like normalizing function. So thinking of sweet as like you're giving the body building blocks to help the body in order for it to just have normal physiological function. So this helps the body help itself. You're really like building the body up, tonifying it, giving it what it needs so that it can do what it needs to do. And what it's trying to do always, which is bring you back to homeostasis, which is healing. So examples of a sweet herb are gentian, also known as ginseng, and it's very tonifying. Like it gives you energy, and it's very, very sweet. And another example is huang qi, also known as astragalus, and this is very good for the immune system. And the immune system, it needs those building blocks in order to fight exterior pathogenic illness. So those are all building the qi up. And sweet is what helps us build. So oftentimes you'll find sweet herbs in a lot of formulas. Not a lot of sweet herbs, but at least one or two. A lot of times too, gansao is used, that's actually licorice, in a lot of formulas just to help like moderate the other herbs in the formula. So normalized function for sweet, you can also think of it as like moderating. It's like that middle road. So like acrid is going to move stuff, bitter is going to drain stuff, sour is going to like hold stuff in, sweet is going to just like calm everybody down, give everybody kind of like a framework to work off of. If that makes sense. It's also going to help the formula be a lot more palatable, especially to our Western palate, because we love sweet. So, all right. Next we have sour. So sour is likened to the astringent function. So this is a very interesting flavor. I love sour. Its primary function really is to like stabilize and bind the body. Now, times when you would use sour, there's a few different times. So it can prevent the loss of body fluids. So like excess sweating, just can't stop sweating for whatever reason it is. There's different herbs to address that, different types of sour herbs depending on the reason why there's this excess sweating. But you're losing fluids, and losing too much fluids isn't good. So sour herbs can help to prevent the loss of fluids through sweating. It can also mean preventing the loss of too much water through the bowels, too much diarrhea, excessive diarrhea, also not good. And we really want to help like stabilize and bind that up, but not too binding. But again, going back to the importance of having a balanced formula. So you would have sour herbs in there to help bind up the loss of water through diarrhea. And the other function of sour in terms of like astringing things is in the use of cough. So like you think of your lung qi, like every time you cough, your lungs are like puffing out and you're losing qi every time you cough, which kind of weakens the function of the lung, weakens the function of the heart. So we really, especially a chronic cough, we don't want that. We really want to stop that cough. So certain herbs, such as uweza, which I have as an example here, is schisandra. is used to kind of like pull that cough in. And then we have bitter herbs. So these are pretty intense herbs. They are very draining and very strong in nature, and their primary purpose is to clear, drain, purge, and eliminate and dry up dampness in the body. So a lot of them also have an antibiotic, antibacterial effect, and antiviral. Obviously not very palatable. And the last one is salty. So salty herbs are used to soften hardnesses in the body in situations such as like nodules, tumors, swellings. Mang Shao is used sometimes for dry type of constipation to help draw water into the intestines, and so that the stool can then be eliminated. If it's too hard, it softens it. All right, so just a few key terms of administration of herbs. So we have decoction, which is the oldest, like the first route of administration. And this is a process where raw herbs are boiled in water for anywhere from like 45 to 60 minutes, really depending on how strong the formula needs to be and which kind of herbs we're decocting. And honestly, this is less frequently used nowadays just because it's not as convenient. Makes the entire house smell, although this is a very potent form of administration. So more commonly now, you see things like powder or granules. So powder is like the raw herbs can be ground up into a powder and then like given directly to the patient. But oftentimes nowadays, what you see more so is a powder extract or a granular extract. So this means that the individual herb is cooked just like they are in a decoction, and this is done in a lab. The water is then evaporated, the extract is turned into a solid dosage form or granular powder form. And then this is combined into formulas and then given to the patient. So this is more beneficial because you still have like the water extraction process. So it's like it mimics the potency of a decoction while providing the convenience of a little ready-made jar of herbs that all you have to do is measure out, put into a cup, add hot water, stir it up, drink the tea. Next, we have tablets or capsules, and this is great for people who don't like the taste of herbs. So bypasses the taste buds. Takes a little bit longer to take effect as the tablets or capsules need to be dissolved. Tablets will take longer than capsules to dissolve, but still an effective means of administering herbal medicine. Lastly, we have tinctures, which we do have on hand in all of our clinics at Align Modern Health. So tinctures are a process where herbs are generally soaked in grain-based liquor. And then this extracts out the key ingredients and it's taken like as an herbal wine. Comes with a dropper, and that's how the appropriate dosage is measured out. It's usually very small dosage, anywhere from 1 to 2 milliliters, tablespoons, 1 to 2 times a day, depending on what's being treated. And then we have topical herbs as well. This is for anything on the skin or pain. So ointments, plasters, they can be used for unhealing wounds or infections, sores, inflammation due to injury, so pain, broken bones, things like that. So, all right. Lastly, we have this slide. These are some of the primary tincture formulas. A few of these we actually have in our clinics, especially right now for cold and flu season. A few that I've liked to use are the Xanthi, really helpful for clearing up any congestion. The Pneuma down there has a lot of like damp draining, kind of like phlegm processing qualities for just stuck in the lungs and just helping to rebalance some of those things. So ask your acupuncturist about these if you're interested in trying herbal medicine and wondering how it can help you. All right. Thank you for your interest in herbal medicine. That was a basic overview, and if you have any additional questions, I encourage you to use the Q&A, and I will do my best to answer all of them. And then if I don't get to anybody's questions, please feel free to schedule a free 15-minute consultation. All of our providers are available to answer all of your questions. The number is 312-216-2452. You can also visit us at AlignModernHealth.com, schedule an appointment, or a free 15-minute consultation. All right, so let's see. So with decoctions, herbs, tablets, and tinctures, is one more easily absorbed into the body? So to that, I would say all of the routes of administration are going to be readily absorbed. The most potent is going to be the decoction. It goes straight into the stomach. Your stomach doesn't have to dissolve any kind of capsule or tablet or anything like that. How often to take the herbs? That's a great question. So that depends on your condition, but typically your herbalist will have you taking your herbs 2 times a day at least is the best, depending on what form of administration. Usually, like when I do, I like to do granules, but so usually I'll have people do anywhere from like 4 to 6 scoops. 1 scoop is typically 1 gram. So each bottle kind of comes with like a scooper twice a day. And you're making a tea twice a day. All you need is hot water. It's really convenient. You throw the bottle in your purse, bring it with you wherever you gotta go. But if you don't have access to hot water, if you're on the road, if you're going, you just know you're not gonna do it, tinctures are a great option for that. In terms of tinctures, dosage would be, again, probably twice a day for most conditions, anywhere from 1 to 2 teaspoons of that tincture twice a day. So have you worked with people who have had total gastrectomy to rebuild the gut flora? It's a great question too. I would actually encourage you to like make an appointment or a consultation. That's very specific, but I will say that I've treated a lot of digestive related issues with herbal medicine. I love herbal medicine for digestive related issues. In conjunction with acupuncture, it's amazing what it can do. There's so much creativity that can be had with it. There's many different routes, things to try, and there's just so much that Chinese medicine has to offer for digestive ailments. It's pretty amazing. So what's the best way to get fully started in herbalism at home? So I would say, coming from my perspective, I spent a lot of time learning in school, like how herbs fit into the framework of understanding the human body from an acupuncturist point of view, from like a Chinese medicine point of view. Although there are some very good books that can help a layperson understand the workings of Chinese medicine, which would be a great way to start with herbal medicine. So yeah, that's a tricky one. I would say trust the professional in that case more so. And I wouldn't encourage you to really like prescribe herbs to yourself in the beginning, especially. The price range of the tinctures. Yeah, so the tincture bottles, I believe, are around 15 to $20. I want to say they're no more than $20, and they will last anywhere from a week to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on what you're taking it for. Herbs are not terribly expensive. The same with the granules as well. A granule formula that lasts you about a week if you're taking it regularly. It shouldn't run you more than about $30 through our online vendor. Okay, so I'm gonna have to wrap up. I'm so sorry if I didn't get to your question, but please, 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 I encourage you to schedule a 15-minute consultation really if you have any other questions. All of our providers at Align Modern Health are amazing and very fluent in herbs, acupuncture, and addressing any of your healthcare needs. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your interest. I hope you have a great day.